Here is a very funny story about a man who lives in Dagenham. It's not very funny so far, is it? And I speak with the voice of experience because I have just recently moved out of a house in Dagenham. Well, that place, it was too cramped for comfort. Every time the morning paper arrived, I went flying out the back window. And I have to be honest, it was something of a rough neighborhood. We had to put a crook lock on the cat. I remember once the lady next door once held a Tupperware party, and all police leave was cancelled. In fact, the crime rate was so high, there was a 6-month waiting list to get mugged. The neighborhood, you can laugh, the neighborhood was so tough that John Conte was our Avon lady. Now, fortunately, our new home is much nicer. I mean, I have to admit the garden is a little bit overgrown. My wife was hanging out some washing yesterday, and 3 Japanese soldiers came out and surrendered. At the moment, she is unbelievably thin. With her tongue out, she looks like a zip. On Saturday, I decided to give her a hand with housework, and that's where I made my big mistake. There I was in the kitchen, washing a few clothes out, and I fell into the tumble dryer. My 2 young children came in and thought they were watching Magic Roundabout. Luckily, I had my wits about me. I did 3 minutes of my cabaret act, and they got up and switched off. Understandably, I was still rather shaken the next day, and I went to see the producer of the show, in the Oval Office. And as I walked in, he was sitting behind the desk, arranging a bunch of pansies. For a special he's doing with the Osmonds. He put the phone down, he came over to me, he said to me, "What are you going to do for your little chatty poos tonight, lovey?" I don't do that voice too often, I might get to like it. I said, "Well, actually, lovey, I'm going to do the one about the chap from Dagenham, which I happened to overhear in the BBC canteen at lunchtime, if you don't mind. I don't usually go to the BBC canteen today, but it's a special occasion, you know. They were presenting one of the sausage rolls, the Gold Watch." I overheard these 2 fellas talking. Now, one of them I knew quite well, the sort of bloke who's always trying to make a mountain out of a molehill, and Marty Kane's costume designer. And the other one was a producer, as a matter of fact, with BBC Scotland. Last I heard, he was due to make a new series about arts in Glasgow, called Stitch That Jimmy. Apparently it never came off. The story goes, to be honest, that he annoyed Paul Daniels in the bar one day and spent 3 weeks inside a matchbox. This was the joke they were telling about a chap who lives in Dagenham. Now, don't ask me why he lives in Dagenham. There's now as queer as folk, as I always remember my Uncle Doris telling me. Shortly before he was cashiered from the Wrens. The important thing is that he is flying this plane in a solo flight round the world. Next to which the Dagenham bit is all a bit irrelevant, or better still, irrelevant. So, I don't know why I mentioned it. So off he goes on this solo flight in his lightweight Moulinex turboprop, and as luck would have it, a freak wind blows him off course, and he has to make a forced landing. Excuse me laughing, but I've heard it, you see. Has to make a slap bang in the middle of the African jungle. Blow it, he says. Or worse, that effect. Now I'm stranded. No food, no water supplies. Thank God I brought some luncheon vouchers. Suddenly, at that moment, there's a rustle in the bushes, you see. And from out of the undergrowth steps this 7-foot-tall African native. Bone through the nose, shrunken heads hanging around his neck. I think he was from Dagenham as well. Carrying in his hand a rude spear, which we won't dwell on. Well, naturally the chap is just about to start saying his prayers when the native speaks to him. 7-foot-tall native says, "Pardon me, my good man, but I can't help noticing that you seem to be in some distress. I was therefore wondering whether I might perchance be of any assistance to you." The chap said, "Well, it is very kind," he said. The fellow said, "Not at all," he said. "I'm only too..." Happy to cooperate. Doesn't have to take it out of you. In whatever way you desire. Well, at this point, the chap's curiosity gets the better of him. He said, look, excuse me for asking this. He said, but here we are, in the middle of the jungle. How is it you speak such immaculate English? Well, the 7-foot-tall native said, well, he said, as a matter of fact, sir, I picked it up on shortwave radio.